Hello, Sir Cal here, with an update. Yes, we've been gone for a while, but as you can see, we're finally back, with a new video, and yes, it has video! We have this amazing software called OBS that we got, and that we were using for the production of this new podcast. There's some trippy visuals for you. But yeah, so just kind of a quick update and, info on this video going in. This is part 2 of a 2-part discussion that we had, but unfortunately part 1 was audio only, and we also ran into some issues with the editing process, so it was a bit quicker to do part 2 on its own, especially since it was video. It's mostly a standalone conversation, so I figured that we could at least get this out to you today because I wanted something for you to see today, and I hope you enjoy. And the full podcast that were recorded in its audio format will be available hopefully sometime this week. And yeah, in this video, keep in mind this was our first ever go at doing a video and audio, so there may be some issues, and I was still learning how to run the camera angles, so there were some issues there, but it's what it is, and hopefully you enjoy, despite some issues here and there. We just wanted to get something out for you, our 2-3 people who actually watch this, for you to enjoy. So yeah, well, I hope you enjoy.
Hello everyone, I'm Lord Squirrel, and welcome to the weekly Geekcap. This is going to be basically the part 2 of this episode, because beforehand we
ran into some technical difficulties.
Yeah, technical difficulties. Also, you can see our faces now. That's probably disturbing to you, but I apologize. But yeah, I'm Lord Squirrel, and that's Cal over there. He exists for some reason, I don't know. Hobbits, they're weird. But yeah, actually, did you want to just continue to part 2 or just restart?
I'm okay with whatever. I'm okay with finishing up that discussion if you want, or if you just want to start over and talk about and kind of redo it, that's okay too.
Let's just continue. We were on Golden Age of movies, correct?
Yes, the Golden Age of comic book movies.
Yeah, comic book movies.
Yeah, what in our minds, what would that be? For me, I would say we're in it right now.
I would say we're getting preferably 3 every year, but from different companies, and they're all good. Like, actually, like, I would go back and watch them multiple times. Mm-hmm. But with the current crop of, like, Marvel and DC, currently the only ones I regularly watch again are Iron Man 1, because Robert Downey Jr. nails the role in that movie, and it's just so much stinking fun. Mm-hmm. Avengers, Captain America Winter Soldier, and Captain America Civil War, which is basically Avengers 3, but yeah, those are the only ones that I really go back and watch from, like, the past 10 years. And I don't really count the Dark Knight and that was loud. Dark Knight and X-Men franchise, because even though they keep on going past the early 2000s, like, both of their second installments were after were before 2008, when Iron Man came out, so I kind of consider them to be part of the last era. So all the ones after that, there's really only been three more X-Men movies that I'll watch repeatedly after 2, which would be Logan, obviously, First Class, and Days of Future Past.
Although Dark Knight did come
out. And then Dark Knight 3, that one's okay, but ultimately it's not one that I rewatch a lot. I rewatch the first and second a lot, but not the third.
Yeah.
But I do still rewatch it. So, and then Spider-Man, those all came out before 2008. Actually, did the third one come out in 2008?
I am not for sure.
Google. No.
Yeah, I do know though. Dark Knight came out the same year as Iron Man, didn't it? Or was it?
I want to say it was 2007.
Let me look this up.
To Wikipedia, because that's always right.
Well, it is.
No.
Okay.
One time I saw them describe Halo as a turn-based tactical game. Halo's an FPS shooter. Like you couldn't be like on the other side of the spectrum more if you tried.
Well, you're in luck because my browser won't come up right now. So
My phone's browser will come up.
yeah, want to look it up?
Yep. This is the level of professionalism that you get with us. Also, I apologize for the light back there, but I can't be bothered to turn it off, and the one back there too. Yeah, there. The camera's positioned at a terrible point. Anyway, I can't get it up any higher. Don't judge me. Actually, it was 2008. I guess when was the first one out?
2006, I think.
It was Batman Begins, right?
Yes.
Okay. I watch it all the time. I just can never remember the title. 2005. That's the other thing. There's such a huge gap between there is such a huge gap between movies and a series that they were allowed to kind of develop them. But now with Marvel, it's like boom, 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 3 year. I don't. Maybe it's just me, but I don't really like that. Like I hate that they're doing a Star Wars movie every year. It's like it kind of ruins the specialness of the whole thing, if you know what I mean. Like Star Wars used to be an event.
Yeah.
Like anything Star Wars, even a TV series coming out, that used to be a holy crap.
Oh yeah, I remember when the Clone Wars
thing
launched.
Yeah. But yeah, like with Star Wars, like even like a TV series or something like that, when that came out, I was like, whoa, big event. New Star Wars. We don't get that often.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like, oh, new one every year. I don't really like that. It's kind of the same problem I have with the Assassin's Creed series. There's almost literally a new one every single year, except for this year because they completely screwed up the last two to the point that people are just like, why?
Mm-hmm.
Just a second, let me reposition this a little bit. There we go. But yeah, I just don't really like that. That's another thing. And again, we get Batman Begins, really, really good. Dark Knight, really, really good. We get all three of the Spider-Man films, all good. Third one kind of but it's still fun enough that I rewatch it all the time. Mostly for Emo Peter, because that is actually the best part of that entire series. Because the director just completely let loose and had fun with the concept, which I feel like most comic book movies don't do anymore. Like they have fun, but it still feels kind of like restrained to a point.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, then we had X-Men 1 and 2, and then 3, and I think we actually had Wolverine Origins before we got Dark Knight, but I can't be sure. Or before we got Iron Man.
I'm sorry. What was that? We had a third X-Men movie and an Origins Wolverine film.
I can't remember if Origins came out before 2008.
Those movies don't exist, man. They were terrible.
No, I like the third one actually.
Yeah, I have to agree there that the third one is not too bad.
It's not completely terrible, but it's definitely not of the same quality as the past two.
No, it's not. The problem with it is they try to fit two movies into one, and when you have a
I think the problem is that they tried.
Ratner,
I think the problem is that they tried fitting in too many characters. Honestly, I could see most of the plot details working themselves out. It's just with all the characters that get thrown in, you get Beast all of a sudden who hadn't been there in previous movies. You have to introduce him. You have to introduce a few other new characters. You have to basically explain what the heck the Phoenix Force is.
Mm-hmm.
Although that final fight is pretty epic.
Yeah, that is like the big redeeming moment of that movie is the climax where everything just goes down. And I do think that's the problem with the movie is it has too many good elements in it. You know, where it's got too much going on. Because no one would say Beast was a bad thing in the movie. No one would say that the Phoenix necessarily was a bad thing. Although how they handled it could have definitely been handled better. And no one is going to tell you that Magneto's storyline is a bad thing with him, you know, trying to fight off this cure, and then the cure storyline is a great motion. One.
Stop.
But it was just all those elements put into one movie without any of them being allowed to properly work themselves out.
Yeah,
is what really did that film in. Versus like. Spider-Man 3 kind of fell from the same problem. It had too many villains, where Venom was like pushed in by the studio, and Sam Raimi didn't want to do that. I think it would have worked
really well if Harry hadn't been a direct villain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, kind of if the drama around him was more him and Peter's having a massive falling out.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently they needed the Hobgoblin for no real reason.
Yeah, they needed the Hobgoblin, they needed Sandman, and then they needed Venom.
Honestly, Sandman and Venom would have been perfect. Really, the only problem with that movie is Harry, in my opinion. And if you want to be a stick in the mud emo Peter, but that's only if you're a stick in the mud.
Yeah.
Also, MJ becomes kind of hateable, but
yeah,
that's one reason why I'm really glad that the Amazing Spider-Man didn't actually have her until like the last 2 seconds of the second film. I was just like, oh, we get someone different for a change. Because it seems like every attempt at a live action, even the ones that don't go through, they're just like, oh, let's have MJ. It's like, no, she's boring. She's annoying.
Are you talking Spider-Man Homecoming or the Amazing Spider-Man?
Amazing Spider-Man.
Mary Jane was not in either Amazing Spider-Man films.
I thought they showed her at the end of the second one.
Nope.
Oh.
They wanted to, but it got cut because they felt like it would have not.
I must have seen one of the deleted scenes then or something, but
yeah, maybe.
I distinctly remember seeing her, but yeah, that's kind of my thing where I'm just like, I don't really enjoy. I enjoy the movies that I go see nowadays, but none of them really have any staying power besides Logan. If you get what I mean, like, I think back to them when their plot points matter in another Marvel movie, but other than that, no. It's one reason why I'm probably not going to go see Black Panther.
Say what?
Yeah, I said it. I'm probably not even going to see Thor in theaters.
Dude, are you kidding me?
No. Like, I see the trailer, I'm just like completely kind of. There's a few points in the trailer I'm just like, oh, that's kind of cool, but they keep on doing this stuff that I hate, where it's just like, oh, let's spoil all the cool surprises in the film in the trailer itself. Like they show Mjolnir getting destroyed. They show him and Hulk meeting up and fighting. It's like, that would have been cool to see Hulk just come out of nowhere. That would have been cool to see Mjolnir get completely destroyed with no knowledge of that beforehand, but they keep on destroying this thing. So it kind of, like, the more and more I see that in movies, the less I'm enthused to watch them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel your point. Like, okay, outside of Yum Yum, I can't say Thor's hammer's name, just like the characters in the movie.
Mjolnir. Mjolnir.
My camera has gone out, so I'm going to have to reboot my app. So we're going to be looking at your face exclusively for a bit here. Stand by. But yeah, I personally feel like that's why with a lot of films, I pretty much have a rule now where I only watch the teaser trailer, and that's it.
They spoiled
maybe the first trailer.
The Mjolnir with the teaser trailer. That's what ticked me off. It's like how in the third trailer for Batman vs Superman, they showed Doomsday. And it's like, what? Why do you guys keep on like destroying all this interesting stuff that could be an actual surprise? Because honestly, this kind of stuff in trailers makes me not want to see the movie in theaters, at least.
Yeah, and I feel you, because I mean, like, how many times can we point out where like huge plot points have been spoiled? Like the biggest example is, of course, Batman v Superman, but then you also have Spider-Man: Homecoming. I felt was a recent example
with the whole Iron Man thing.
Yeah, well, and just overall, like that second trailer, you could pretty much plot out the entire movie. You would know, okay, this event leads to this event leads to this event.
Oh, I can do that with almost every trailer from the past 10 years. You just don't like it when I do it.
Yeah.
I can literally plot out the first half of Thor 3 just from the teaser trailer. Like, that shouldn't be something that you can do with the teaser trailer. It's just like, oh, I know how half of the movie goes. Why would I see it?
I don't know, because
only way they could surprise me is if Thanos just drops down in the middle of their fight and instead of fighting, they play patty cake.
Well, I feel like I almost would have agreed with you at one point. Come on, switch. There we go. I would have agreed with you, but the two trailers, the Comic-Con trailer and the teaser trailer, were vastly different, revealing vastly different information. So I don't know. I feel like the Comic-Con trailer spoiled more than the teaser trailer did. Get rid of the Thor's hammer being shattered in the teaser trailer, and it's a perfect trailer, with the only big thing being, the Hulk thing. But everyone...
Oh, no, I can pretty much figure it out just from what they showed in the teaser trailer. Probably going to have a very brief, like, maybe 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes of build-up to Hel attacking Valhalla. She's going to destroy all... She's going to destroy it, obviously. Or not, Asgard. Sorry, not Valhalla. Asgard. Probably going to destroy it. Probably that band of 3 friends that Thor has. One of them's probably going to end up dying. Then Mjolnir gets destroyed. He gets left on whatever planet that is. Gets tasered. It's going to be a few minutes of explanation of what the planet is. He's going to fight maybe one guy before Hulk. Then they're going to fight Hulk. That's going to be the midpoint of the movie.
Yeah. Well, it looks like, and then you throw in. And
then there's probably going to be a Guardians of the Galaxy reference at some point.
Yeah, probably.
Drax is going to come out of nowhere and just slap people and then run away.
But the thing is what we didn't. I guess what the Comic-Con trailer revealed is that there's going to be another team up between Thor and Loki. Why? I don't know. Why Thor still trusts Loki is beyond me, but
I've only betrayed him like twice. 3 times. Well, there 3 times.
Yeah.
I mean, he thought that Loki died for him in Thor 2, so.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I haven't actually watched that movie all the way through. I know I mentioned that in the first part of the podcast, but.
Yeah. That was like my first Marvel movie. Not the greatest exposure to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. In fact, it kind of killed my interest.
Was your original exposure.
I take that back. The Avengers was the first one.
I'm just like, what? How did you even manage that?
Because, crap, what was it? My uncle actually bought the Avengers when it first came out and had us over at his house to watch it. So that was my first exposure to Marvel. But then, Thor 2 is the next exposure I had, and that kind of killed my interest for a bit. Mm-hmm. But then I think it was Guardians of the Galaxy came out, the teaser trailer for that, and that looks so stupid, it's gonna be good kind of thing. Mm-hmm. That's what actually piqued my interest.
Also, the epic music kind of helped. Honestly, I attribute most of that film's success to the soundtrack.
Probably.
Like, the reason
not,
why people went there is just like, oh, we're going to hear all this awesome music. And then they stayed for the funny hijinks.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so... I mean, my thing is with Thor 2, I did not expect another team-up, at least with Loki. Like, that looks like they revealed at least the second half of the movie there at the Comic-Con trailer. So
Then they showed him in the teaser trailer?
So, they showed him, but it looked like an antagonistic role.
No, because he had Asgard soldiers behind him, didn't he?
No, I mean, it wasn't really clear, because we see him for a brief glimpse where he's, like, flipping knives out, but then the next time we see him at the end of the trailer, he's with the bad guys watching Thor fight Hulk. So it looked like he was going to be a bad guy in that film. Yeah. So that's my thing is, I was genuinely surprised by what they showed us in
the Comic-Con?
In the Comic-Con, yes. So I'm hoping that there's going to be more in the film that we haven't seen yet.
Well, I basically knew that he wouldn't be the antagonist, because they already have that guy that's holding them hostage. Also, they've already done him as an antagonist twice. I think they're kind of done with him as being the antagonist and more making him a lovable villain.
Mm-hmm. By twice, you mean Avengers and Thor 1? Yeah, because he wasn't really an antagonist in Thor 2. That is, like, the redeeming part of that movie is Thor and Loki's, like, banter relationship in the second half of that film. I was kind of disappointed when he got killed off. So, you know, only for him to come back there at the end of the film posing as Odin, and I was kind of like, So, that's the one thing that they've not revealed yet is how does that happen? We've not seen Odin yet in either trailer. Is Odin alive? That is the big question here that we have that they haven't answered yet.
Well, didn't he already go into that big sleep in the first movie? Whatever it was.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. But then some people are like, Odin's dead because how could Loki take his spot unless he killed him? You know?
I think it's more likely that Hel kills him.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that'd be interesting. Loki does a flip-flop or a triple thing where he's working for the bad guy, supposedly turns on them, and then it turns out, oh, no,
I can almost guarantee you that's what's going to happen because that was my thought. Because I can almost guarantee you it's going to last for like 20, maybe 30 minutes, and then they're going to show us that he's actually helping Thor in some way and take away all the tension of that. Because that's what Marvel does. They don't, like, leave anything for a mystery for the end of the movie anymore. It's just like, oh, you know everything. Except for Civil War, which had the only, like, actually, like, funny enough, that's the only other Marvel movie that has a really good villain besides Thor and Spider-Man. Because I actually really like Zemo.
I would argue that Ego was a good villain. At least Kurt Russell was great in the role.
You don't get points for making Kurt Russell likable. It's like getting people to like a character that The Rock plays. It isn't a challenge. Him being there makes them like him.
Yeah. Well, and kind of the reason why I say he's a good villain is because first
I would agree with you up until the second part, because I know what you're gonna say about like him having like more motivation and actually having like kind of a reason for doing everything, where most other Marvel villains are just kind of greed. But when he turns on Peter, he immediately just becomes genocidal and completely and utterly crazy and completely impossible to sympathize with, because he ended up killing his basically wife. Just because he didn't want to have, he didn't want to have the possibility of being slightly conflicted about killing billions and billions of life forms.
Well, crap, my thing is lagging.
Your face is lagging.
I would argue actually Peter turned on him, because of the fact that when you watch the film, it's shown in the beginning that he's planting seeds to take over all these planets. and in reality, he was always genocidal. But and it isn't until like he had Peter Quill there until he revealed that he killed Peter's mom. Then it goes gone for him, and that is a brilliant scene, by the way, when Peter just
he didn't really look
glowing eyes just go away.
Bored with it. Like he was kind of going like, why and what, and then when he revealed that he killed his mom, that's when he went completely ballistic. But he's already going down the road of not going along with it before then. So it feels more like, and really it is a betrayal of ego to Peter because he killed his mom. Not only that, but he purposely put a tumor in her head so that she would die a long and painful death.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I
Again,
don't know,
I would agree with you if they took out him wanting to completely genocide everything and him killing his wife. Not actually his wife, but I can't remember her name, so.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise, after that whole point, he just becomes like the standard Marvel villain of giving grandiose speeches about how he will destroy everything. You could basically replace him with the Squirrel from Avengers, and basically wouldn't have to change too much of the dialogue. Especially since after that point, it's just like it's grand speech, or you will join me, or you will die, that kind of thing. Where it's like, it's futile to fight me. No one can beat me. Why does Marvel keep on using that cliche? They've used it in almost every single one of their movies now. Again, the only exception being Civil War and Spider-Man.
I mean, I get that. I do get the whole, he turns into an average villain at the end, but he does have, he has that benefit, first, of being somewhat, you connect with him in that you feel Peter's connection with him as a father-son thing. And then also, I think the benefit where, which makes him kind of a genuinely, this is surprisingly morbid here, is when it's revealed he's killed like hundreds upon thousands of kids, you know, and it's revealed that
again, I know where you're coming from, but when it's revealed that most of that was basically a lie, except for just kind of being friendly with Peter, which even that could have been basically a lie, because at the end he basically implies that he's going to kill him. But then he shows that he basically killed like millions, maybe billions of his own children. Like it's fine. Like again, I said if they hadn't done all that stuff and made it a bit more less completely and utterly insane, it would have kept his likability. But as soon as that happens, it throws all that likability out the window, because he's now basically Space Hitler.
I think that's kind of what makes him a great villain, is you do like him. You can't help but like him. Other villains, it's easy to kind of just be like, they're forgettable because they're already unlikable, like the first Guardians of the Galaxy villain. Whereas Kurt Russell's character, you almost sympathize with him because he wants to find meaning in finding other life, but then you realize halfway through the film just how twisted he is, in that for him, he not only is satisfied with being, not alone, but then he wants everything to be like him, so he's going to kill everything. And then, he finds Peter and brainwashes Peter up until a certain point, and he wasn't going to kill Peter until after Peter rebelled on him. He was brainwashing Peter, and Peter was kind of going with him up until it was revealed that that Ego killed his mom, and at that point, it's just boom, after that point, which was a great moment.
Again, like the whole thing where he wants to destroy everything because he doesn't think it's good enough, like, that kind of ruins the whole thing for me, at least. Where it's just like, okay, so you suddenly went insane. That's almost what it feels like. This like, everything wasn't perfect. Okay, if you know what I mean. It's like, you'd think after a while he would kind of think it out to himself, just like, maybe I shouldn't kill everything in existence and make it in my own image, because that might make me a bit of a maniac.
I mean, yeah, but that's kind of the
again. If they had made it less about destroying everything and made it more about like trying to force everything into conforming, that would have been better, because that would have been more relatable. But instead, it's just like, I'm gonna destroy everything and make it my own image. It's literally every single anime villain ever. And he even has the sparkly light powers too.
Although, can we just say that Pac-Man was great?
It was great, but for the 1 second, I felt it was kind of stupid. I'm just like, really? You couldn't have at least spread that out over a couple more seconds? You couldn't have had them like be in an epic battle where Peter's just going around like eating away at parts of him. I think that would have made it a bit more funny, but it's just like 2 seconds of okay. Because it almost passes too fast. It's like but yeah, I just can't really relate to him at all, and all that character building they did beforehand almost gets called into question, because you're kind of wondering how much did he actually care about Peter and how much was he just like being nice to him to try and get a power source, because even after everything is done, he's still going to need Peter to be on his side, because if he isn't, he could possibly destroy him. So yeah.
Well, yeah. So
I mean,
that was a bit.
He's
of a
close to
hole
being
there.
another good villain for me. Close to, but
yeah. I guess it's kind of like a debate of, you know,
also maybe it's just me, but I never bought it for a second that he wasn't going to try and kill a bunch of people. Like from the very beginning of the film, I mean, when they showed that plant, and it's like, he's going to kill millions of people, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of was like, what was I gonna say? You know something is up with this character, but you don't want something to be up. You want it to turn all right for the heroes, and I think that's kind of what helps, especially Peter. I think that's kind of what helps him be a bit more compelling. And I guess it's just a debate of, does the second half of him being all evil defeat that first half when we see him? For me, I would say no. I think the performance that Kurt Russell gives and kind of the nuance behind it in that first half kind of helps that second half. So yeah, but I can agree that with you that what's his name from Spider-Man Homecoming was a genuinely good villain.
I think it's either Vulture or Talon. I can never remember, but yeah, one of those. That was it.
It was Vulture. Yeah, I can't remember. I was trying to remember the character's name that Michael Keaton.
Yeah,
plays,
Vulture actually worked really well, especially since it's like the first time we've seen having someone actually have a legitimate grudge against Tony Stark, like one that we can actually get behind.
Yeah. Yeah, because Mr. Prettyface businessman from Iron Man 3 was compelling at all. Not even that
he is guy with like the energy whip from the second one. It's just like,
yeah, he was at least cool.
Like literally, with Iron Man, we've had 2 boring out of 3, and the second one is only because he has an awesome electro whip and a talking parrot. And the one from the first movie is just kind of like, why are you such a jerk? There's no reason for you to be a jerk.
Yeah, and he kind of set the template really for the Marvel villain.
Like greed for greed's sake. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. Obviously it happens, but it also makes for a really boring and easy to predict villain. That was one thing that I really liked about Vulture, is that it wasn't just greed for greed's sake. It was helping his family. It was helping the family of the people that he hired onto that job. It was also it was also getting back at Tony, but for the most part it was for everyone else. But luckily they didn't change it at the last second and make him an evil megalomaniac maniac who wants to nuke New York. Because I almost thought they were going to go for that. Because it's Marvel.
Yeah, I do like that in
Homecoming?
in Spider-Man Homecoming that he is a very relatable person. You don't get the sense of, oh, he's this really evil guy. I mean, he has those moments where definitely he's crossed the line when he just flat up kills some people.
Though what I really liked is when he first killed someone, it wasn't actually intentional. It was kind it was just
that was a great moment.
Oh crap. And then he's just like, no going back, I guess. I thought this was the anti-gravity gun. No, it's over there. Like that. That's one of the good things about that movie, is that the writing managed to pull off jokes that would have otherwise been really dark and kind of not funny, just by virtue of how the characters react. It's like, I didn't mean to.
Yeah, I know. And so I guess kind of to come back to the original question of, are we or are we not in the golden age of comic book cinema? Your answer would be no, because while there's
it's
more
all of
coming
basically
out,
the same quality, which I would argue is basically just okay quality. Whereas beforehand in the 2000s, we had basically nothing but, if not high quality, very good quality. Whereas right now it's mostly average quality, in my opinion. It's stuff that that you wanted to rewatch, whereas right now it's stuff that you watch once and maybe forget about, maybe watch one more time somewhere a couple years down the road.
Where I kind of disagree with you is, whoops, I just knocked my computer a bit.
Monster.
I guess where I disagree is, come on, catch up. Where I disagree is because of the fact that sure, you had some like, what would you call it? Like landmark films. So you had Batman 1989, Batman Returns. You had Superman, and then you had Superman 2. You had some great like landmark films of these are some of the best in the genre, but then you saw those same franchises turn into utter crap by the time they were done. Superman turned into Superman 4, Batman turned into Batman and Robin, and so you kind of
I'm talking early 2000s. I don't think that as good as the original Tim Burton Batman movie was, and as good as the original Christopher Reeve and second Christopher Reeve Superman movies were. Basically everything else that came out in that era was complete crap. I basically consider the era before the 2000s to be the Dark Age. Yeah.
That we can agree with.
It had three shining lights.
Because you had some.
Because I don't even think the other Batman movies after the first one were really any good. The second one is just kind of okay-ish. And then everything after that is just like, why, Joe Schumacher? Why? Why do you have to murder my child?
I think the second... Yeah. The second one is more divisive, I think. You do have some people who genuinely love it, who love it more than the first. And then you have people
I think it's a prime example of what happens when no one even attempts to slow Burton down.
It is kind of Burton just going all out on something, and you get some
I would say it's like
results.
the prequel trilogy
I personally think
for
it
Star
works,
Wars, but actually George Lucas had a lot of people like he consulted with that he actually listened to.
Well, yeah, but they were kind of all yes men. That's the problem. He kind of had
there was
this
a lot of different things
status,
that they disagreed with. Like remember in Episode 3 when Yoda and Obi-Wan go back to the temple and they're kind of fighting the clones outside. There's this one shot where Yoda like throws his lightsaber into a clone. It gets stuck there. He jumps up, grabs it out, and then like kills another guy. He thought that was too over the top. Like that was, yeah.
George Lucas
He thought that was too over the top. He didn't want to do it. Then everyone else is like, no, it's really cool. Because like it wasn't even his idea. It's just like, and then someone else is just like, no, actually, I really like it. And he's like, okay, if you guys like it.
Well, what I find hilarious is the fact that it was George's idea to do flipping Yoda.
Yeah.
In the second movie.
He probably listening to the feedback from that. It's like, are people gonna jump down my throat again? Because that'd be my main concern.
I can see that.
Everyone tried to kill me after I made Yoda the magical jumping monkey. That's what I used to always call him.
That's great. But yeah, so I would argue that pretty much, I would say if you had to pick a specific, like, 3 or 4 year period, the best year we've had so far is between 2008 to 2012. Because you had The Dark Knight, Iron Man, you had Days of Future Past, First Class, and you had The Avengers. All those films coming out within that span of time, I'm pretty sure. I might be off about 1 or 2, but those are the films. Okay, I take it back. Days of Future Past was actually 2014, if I remember correctly now. But you still had a consistent amount of really excellent films coming out. And then I guess my thing is like when you compare this era of films to each other, you have crap. Sure, Marvel does kind of have a formula, but when that formula is at least producing one excellent film a year, kind of thing. Like Spider-Man: Homecoming, I don't think anyone is going to disagree that we're in a bit of a master. That was probably one of the best films they've done. Last year it was Civil War. That was, for most people, one of the best films in the franchise. And then
I will say that Spider-Man was the thing that kind of made me go like, okay, I'll watch till Infinity War. Because before that, I was kind of like, I might just jump in at Infinity War, because at that point I was just kind of getting sick of them. Only one I really am not watching is Black Panther, because I get the feeling it's going to have basically nothing to actually do with the main storyline of the whole universe. It's going to be just one of those one-offs, which...
But you could argue that
it definitely is.
Spider-Man: Homecoming,
but at the same time, I don't have really any faith in that movie. I don't know why.
Yeah,
I think it was. I think the main reason is I don't think they'll be able to make him as likable as he was in Civil War, because I thought he was actually really well done in Civil War with his whole arc about revenge and all that. But in this one, it's going to be like, okay, he's over that. What are we going to do now? I can see them maybe doing something where it's like him trying to get used to being king or something like that. It was his dad was a king, wasn't he? Yeah. Yeah. I know how the comic book I say that I don't remember the name of the country. Wakanda, yeah. I remember how comic book Wakanda worked, but I couldn't remember if the movies kept it the same. Yeah, it's kind of like there isn't really too many places you can go. Maybe there is, and I'm just not seeing it, but it wasn't enough. Like, the trailers, while looking kind of cool, I'm just like, I'm pretty sure I can skip this one and not really miss anything.
Yeah. Well, we can both agree that that first poster was horrid.
You showed it to me.
Did you see it? Oh. Oh, that was terrible.
It was almost as bad as that weird drawn version of the Logan cover art that you showed me.
Yeah, which some people did like. I mean,
those people are what we call wrong.
Like,
no. Be gone.
Yeah. So I guess if I can summarize what my argument, why I think this era of comic book films is the golden era, despite some fatigue, is here's why. In previous eras, we only had Spider-Man, Batman, Superman really being done, the safe stuff, And then after that point, you know, it was Batman again, and then we got Spider-Man again, you know, Andrew Garfield. And now it's like we're seeing, with the success of Marvel's Iron Man, before Iron Man, could you have told me the names of all these Marvel characters that we're getting, like Doctor Strange, Ant-Man?
That's because I was a nerd as a kid.
Yeah.
What's funny is I didn't even read the comics. I just knew the characters'
have...
names from like cartoons and stuff like that. Because while the movies weren't doing this kind of thing, the cartoons and all the things were doing like massive team-ups. Like I remember there was, I think it was one of the Spider-Man shows before the Iron Man movie. It's just like it had basically the entire cast of what would become the movie Avengers in it. It's like no one knows who the heck Hulk is, or who the heck Hawkeye is, or who Black Widow is, but they brought them all together in one episode and it was amazing.
Yeah, and that's kind of my thing is we're seeing that for the general audience with these films now, of these characters that you would not have known. Like who would have known, who knows about Shazam right now? Who would have told you Black Panther was a Marvel character? Who would have known this stuff except for the super nerds? And then when we look outside the film perspective, we have Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. coming off of a great run with season 4. That actually, after the first season, got really good. And then we have the Arrowverse. DC might be kind of with their films right now, but they've been, for the most part, they've had a great television show, at least one great season.
You know, the amazing thing about DC is they somehow made Deadshot a interesting villain, not once but twice. Because even though in Arrowverse he's basically just your standard mercenary, he has some kind of weird code of honor that's really, really confusing. But at the same time, the fact that he doesn't just kill Diggle when he breaks him out of the gulag is just like, okay, we're good. It's kind of a live and let live. It's kind of the same reason why I like Snart and Rory, or Snart. Rory's a bit more kill crazy, but.
Yeah, and that's kind of my argument of even if yes, Marvel is average.
I'd say I'm not just saying Marvel. I'm saying most of the movies from like 2008 to now have been really just. It almost feels like they didn't need to exist, if you know what I mean. Like, I could have gone without Ant-Man movie. I could have gone without a Doctor Strange, because really the only thing that brought up was the third or the last Infinity Stone.
Yeah. I will agree with you there that Doctor Strange did feel a little recycled at that point. However, it is funny because
I know, I got so confused by how many people were praising that movie. I'm just like, I mean, I like the effects. Everything other than that, it kind of felt a bit.
But even
been there and kind of lacking in effort almost. I mean, they did a really good job with the CGI. But other than that, it's kind of like they almost didn't put any effort into being anything more than the average Marvel movie, which I think is the main problem that I have. Is just like I said in the first part, I've seen all these movies already. Because I know if it's a new solo one, I'm going to tell you exactly how it's going to go from the word go. Like even Ant-Man, while it was slightly unorthodox by having him be a convict, it still basically followed the same formula. Right down to the female side character who essentially beats the crap out of him or gives him a major dressing down at some point. Not in that way, you weirdos.
I guess I guess I see that criticism. I understand it, but I think the positives that we're getting.
I mean, I definitely rather live in this age than in the 80s and 90s.
I mean, yeah, because before this age, who could have told you that that Guardians of the Galaxy, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, and all these weird out there characters were getting movies. Who would have told you that we would have, who would have thought we now have a DC cinematic universe and a Marvel cinematic universe competing? This was one of the things that we wanted to see but never saw, was a connected universe. Comic book fans like to complain about how everything's connected now. But
my problem with it is not so much that it's all connected, it's that there's so many stinking movies. Like, it's 2008 to 2017, been almost 10 years, and there's like, what, almost 16 Marvel movies? Yeah, that's one of my main problems, is like, are you really expecting me to keep up with all of this? Because the average person is not going to.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I guess that kind of plays to the balance.
I'd also argue that not every weird, obscure character needs a movie, but yet they keep on doing this. Like, we literally could have gone without... I don't want to get killed, but we literally could have gone without Guardians of the Galaxy.
I would heartily disagree with you. I'd say
you would hardly disagree with me, or you would heartily? Yeah. It sounded like you said hardly.
Heartily, yes. Because that is like, when that came out, that was my favorite Marvel film, and it still might be.
My favorite is
Spider-Man
Civil
Homecoming is close. But I would... Yeah. In Civil War. I mean, when you look at 2014, we had Guardians of the Galaxy. 2015...
That's my point. There's so many of them coming out, you can't keep track of which ones were when.
Yeah.
Like, I honestly forgot which ones came out, which ones came out, and which ones were coming out this year until I thought about it just a few seconds ago. I'm just like, which ones? Because all I can remember is that Thor was coming out sometime later.
So, even skipping the 2015 year, in 2016 we got Captain America Civil War, and then in 2017 we got Spider-Man Homecoming. And these three films, almost everyone would agree, those are some of the best Marvel films.
I would say, I would agree with you. But I'd also make the caveat that Spider-Man Homecoming, I don't like nearly as much as the Tobey Maguire first one. I don't really... what was that first Guardians of the Galaxy? In some ways, again, like I mentioned in the first part, I don't really get too much out of that film after watching it one time. That kind of thing, where Civil War, I can watch it all the time and still enjoy it. Iron Man 1, I can watch it all the time. Avengers. What was the other one I kept? Winter Soldier. I don't know why I'm completely blanking on stuff this week.
Oh, yeah. How did I forget Winter Soldier? And that's just it. I think it's better to live in an age where so many good films come out in a series like this that we forget about them until
I would
like,
actually argue
this
that's
is
a
great.
bad thing,
Versus
because
where...
all the extraneous crap is just blotting out the really good stuff. Like, did we really need 3 Iron Man movies?
There's so much...
Yeah, we needed the one,
I would agree
maybe
with you,
two. Maybe two.
No, I would say 2 is the one that didn't need to happen. I would say 3 actually.
No, what I'm saying is that we maybe need 2 movies.
That really,
we really only need 1.
Oh, got ya.
3 was okay.
Yeah,
but ultimately,
it
didn't really contribute anything.
Yeah,
yeah, that's what I liked about it. But at the same time,
because it actually kind of made him
didn't
human.
really need a third movie to do that. They literally could have just had that be an actual part of Age of Ultron and make that movie much more interesting.
Yeah, I can agree with you there that criticism, a lot of people criticized Iron Man 3 and especially Age of Ultron, is that PTSD storyline almost doesn't show up.
I know, right?
In Avengers.
It's so weird. It's like they make such a big deal out of that, and it's just like, eh. I mean, he's kind of paranoid. That's it.
Yeah, I guess I could you could make a good argument that actually his PTSD.
Oh, it definitely is. Just they
Ultron.
barely touch on it.
He's so paranoid, you know. Yeah, it isn't as overt as it was in Iron Man 3, but I think that's due to the fact that they wanted it. They were still trying to play it safe. Of if you only
but at the same time, you do have to see
the Avengers too. So
Iron Man 3, one of the less good ones, in order to fully understand what he's doing, and that's another problem with these movies, with these series that just have all these different interconnecting ones, that you have to watch a movie that isn't exactly great and to understand something about in another movie that isn't exactly great.
Well, actually, some people would disagree with you, because some people would say that you didn't need to see Thor 2 or Iron Man 3 in order to get the overall.
I don't remember anything about Thor 2 because it was so mediocre.
It's funny because yeah. And that's kind of the thing that some people complain.
Wait, did anything from Thor even show up?
Oh, we have to see all these movies. Outside of Thor himself, not really. And that's kind of the thing of. I feel like with these cinematic universes, they've kind of got a balancing act to play, and it doesn't really, you've got the balancing act of the casual audience who will only watch those big movies, and that's it. So they've got to cater with these group up films to that audience, while also helping while not making the people that saw all of them up until this point feel left out. And I think they've done an okay job of that, but then they've not done a good enough job of making the rest of it feel essential. Like you didn't need to see Iron Man 3, you didn't need to see Thor 2, you didn't need to see Guardians of the Galaxy in order to go into Avengers 2 and get it. The only one you really needed to see was Captain America: The Winter Soldier. That is the only one that actually is essential to Avengers 2, because it starts out with them hunting down destroying Hydra.
Actually, if you want to know how they figured out where it was, you have to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where that base was. That was another thing that felt really weird. It's like, I think that's the first and only time they've really done that. Or if they've done it again, it's been incredibly subtle.
Yeah, it has. There are subtle elements, but even then, that kind of thing isn't completely necessary, because I didn't see Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. until it's perfectly reasonable to assume that because it is just a prologue kind of thing. That scene, you don't need to see Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. You could have just been like, oh, they've been tracking
literally all they needed was one line of dialogue,
kind of thing.
But they didn't bother with it.
So
that's one thing with that movie. It feels like they didn't bother explaining because things that were kind of not essential, but would have made things less confusing. Would have kept your mind more on what was going on.
And this is an interesting situation, which I feel like we're kind of at a stalemate here, because, it's kind of I guess the reason why I say this is the golden age is because when we look back, comic book fans are going to look back on this era and be like, they may not have done it perfectly, but studios were actually doing what comic book fans would have liked to see in a comic book. But
I wouldn't agree, because they kind of toned down the craziness from comic books in all these movies. Like even Ant-Man and Doctor Strange. Again, I'm forgetting the names of these things, but like even those, while they were kind of out there, for the most part, the plot was incredibly samey. Villain, bad guy, good guy kind of, or villain, good guy kind of has hesitations at first, possibly starts kind of losing to the bad guy, rises above, beats him, sequel bait. That's kind of thing where it's like, I think they'll look. I don't think they'll look back on this era badly. I think they'll look back on it and say these are all pretty fun, but most of them were insubstantial, mostly lacking, and in the end, all felt very much the same. Whereas beforehand, with like the early 2000s, you'd have Batman Begins and Batman Dark Knight, which, while they had basically that same similar storyline, they had a lot of interesting ideas and concepts and character arcs, spacing the gaps between those, where I'd argue Doctor Strange and like movies like Doctor Strange and Ant-Man don't. They just kind of follow just kind of have like this almost like tempo that they keep on following without ever really going off. Mm-hmm. And then you have Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3, which again they all had pretty different plots. Had X-Men 1 and 2, which had very different plots and different plot structures. But now we have to wait until like either the rare exception or the big team up that they spend years on for that kind of thing, whereas they fill the space with a bunch of forgettable stuff. And again, did we really need Guardians of the Galaxy 2?
And then there's also
like what did it offer really, besides a few additional jokes and making Drax an unlikable character? Huh?
It gave Peter Quill a Zune.
Didn't he have his Zune? Oh no, he didn't.
No, he has a Walkman, and then the Walkman gets crushed by Ego, and then at the end, in kind of a jab to the Zune, Sean Gunn's character gives it to him as like, so this is what everyone on Earth uses to listen to music now. It can hold hundreds of songs, and you know the joke is of course
the Zune even around anymore?
The Zune, you know, so.
Although
no, it's not. I don't think it is.
Though what's funny is that the original iPod Touches,
and it's probably,
those are still around. They still make and sell those.
Not anymore. They've announced that they're
yeah, but still,
they're
it's like
canceling that line.
It's taken them like
classic line.
What? Almost a decade and over a decade and a half to finally kill that thing.
I think it went through phases. I'd have to look it up, but I think it went through phases of it.
Yeah, but it's still kind of been continuously there at the very least. There's always been something in stock somewhere that someone sells or buys.
Oh yeah, I mean you can still find brand new iPod classics on Amazon.
Those are the people who thought ahead.
$400. So,
and it's like, why was I stupid enough to buy Yu-Gi-Oh cards? The game sucks. Now I'm gonna get killed. CSI YouTube.
I can no longer say Pokemon sucks.
Oh no, wait. They all get copyright striked. They don't get to the. They can't watch any of the video evidence because it gets copyright striked. It had a Dorito bag in the background.
We can't afford a copyright strike right now.
Obviously infringing on copyright.
Actually, I mean,
which is the
stuff like
thing
that can get you struck. If we're not, if we don't stay family friendly enough,
I will say family friendly. Hey guys, watch as I slip.
And they will say like, you know, or watch as I cuss, bro.
Oh no.
Like,
cussing
like
doesn't
burn hour, blah, 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 you know,
de-advertised on YouTube. Half of the biggest YouTubers that still have ads or swear like sailors. Yeah, which I still find to be really stupid because it was good enough literally 2 months ago. Suddenly is not good enough.
Yeah, well, what killed it was kind of was PewDiePie's racist thing that people, you know, when the biggest YouTuber gets accused of racism,
which they were jokes. I will sing that to my dying days.
Yeah, they were jokes.
If this lasts that long.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing of, I don't blame, I mean, okay, I do blame the advertisers. I don't blame YouTube for doing what they're doing because of the fact that, you know, we are in that thing of, you know, if they don't change things, they're going to, you know, they're not going to have any money. But I do blame advertisers because those same advertisers are like,
well, it isn't even that, because the advertisers were fine with this stuff because they understood that it was all randomized. It's when people started complaining and saying, "Oh, they're showing your video on this. They're showing your ad on this racist video. They aren't actually showing it on there. It got randomly selected." and I guarantee you the advertisers
then, of course,
know this.
you
They're
have
pandering
those
to
same
public
advertisers.
They're pandering to the whiny people online that probably don't even make up a quarter of their, or probably not even 10% of their profits.
Exactly, and then of course you have those same advertisers who put their products on shows like Criminal Minds, CSI, Blue Bloods, where people literally are shown graphic.
Have you ever watched Criminal Minds?
Really disturbing stuff on there. Sure, it falls within a TV.
Criminal
14.
Minds, there was especially this one period during season 4 and 5 where it got really dark. Actually, the end of season 4 is so amazingly it's really well done, but at the same time it's like really downtrodden, really dark, really ambiguous, and honestly kind of depressing with like everything that you learn about during the 2 episodes of the season finale. That is kind of like, it's almost like it is almost legitimately disturbing. Yeah, and also every other episode for like the first 2 seasons, the serial killer that they're stalking it was also a serial rapist. So
yeah, and that's family friendly, but don't you dare host a conservative opinion on YouTube.
Yeah, I don't care.
We're gonna get flagged. Yeah, neither do I. I mean, it's not like we're making any money from this anyways, so... But, yeah, so I guess kind of our...
Rant.
To come back from this...
it isn't even a rabbit hole, it's a black hole.
You know... Yeah. You know, agree to disagree.
I think the thing that will decide if this is the golden age where everything was worth it to see the end of this phase, or the basically end of the first 3 phases of Marvel with Infinity War, if it was worth it, or if it was all a waste of time and Infinity War 1 and 2 sucked. Which apparently are still doing 2 parts, so.
Yeah, they've always done 2. The plan for 2 parts has always been there.
I
but
think they were like talking about
one
making it only 1 part, and making it really long, but then they decided 2 parts. Or apparently, we're getting a Ant-Man and Wasp movie in between the 2 of them. Yeah, I found that really weird. I'm just like,
really?
You're doing one at the end of 2008, then one at the end of 2019, and the thing you thought to put in between there is Ant-Man and Wasp. not to like be mean to that movie. I actually really like Ant-Man, even if I admit it has a lot of problems. But I'm just like, that's what you thought of? I could have thought of like 5 different things that would have been better than that.
Well,
yeah, it's really like
Ant-Man does have some genuine creativity in it. That sequence where they're telling
that was really
about
funny.
Yeah, my friend told this friend.
Although
I'd
like to note that literally
and I guess
every single Marvel movie has either a black, crazy, or really respectable best friend, or a ethnically questionable, or not questionable, but like ethnically kind of like hard to pin down best friend who's really geeky. That's another thing about these movies, and it's like, oh, he's friends with the black guy who's either really goofy or really respectable. My shock. Like, you could almost literally graft the characters from Iron Man 1 onto Doctor Strange. That was what I found hilarious.
Yeah,
although maybe they won't have to change the best friend's actor this time. What's funny is that I didn't even realize that going between Iron Man 1 and 2.
Because of the fact,
He popped up for like 2 seconds. It was so weird.
Yeah, he didn't really have... he doesn't have that much of a role in the first one. And
it's kind of like when
let's face it,
in the original Ghostbusters, they managed to edit out the 4th Ghostbuster in subsequent edits of the movie, and no one noticed. Like, literally nothing changed. Because he basically had no role in the movie. Like, I think he's supposed to have a bigger role, but then I think either they run out of budget or they were running over their deadline, so they had to wrap up.
So there are versions of the film where one Ghostbusters
like you can
kind of
see him in those other versions, and he kind of has like 1 or 2 lines, but he basically plays no part up until like the Battle of Azul.
Huh?
Have you ever watched Ghostbusters?
That's interesting. I have, to my shame, I have
Yeah, you're coming
never
over to my house
seen
sometime.
the
We're watching
Ghostbusters
Blade Runner
films.
and Ghostbusters.
And I've not seen.
And then maybe
Yeah.
I'll subject you to some anime just to see how you react.
If
anime.
it's that Godzilla anime, I'm very excited for that. Teaser trailer dropped for that. Yeah, it's a Netflix anime for Godzilla. There's a Netflix Godzilla anime that they're making. I can't remember what it's called, but
dude,
it's,
Godzilla.
It looks
that's a lot
cool.
of fish.
That may get me into
But
anime.
It better be Zilla, and that better be the subtitle.
Oh
Otherwise, I'm
my
writing.
gosh. Which, to be
The
fair,
Godzilla
on
one
the
for
topic
that-
of
for that one was actually
animation
kinda fun.
And
I watched
the
it.
American. Yeah. The cartoon
Yeah, it wasn't
series
anything
of
great,
Godzilla
but it was
actually
definitely
pretty
fun.
Respectable. I mean, the fact is, yeah, and it was actually the character of Godzilla in that was actually better handled than the
I still
original
am
movie.
confused by that movie today, and it's like, did he or did he not have atomic breath? Because I honestly couldn't tell.
He didn't. It's gas that ignites when flames are in it. Because if you watch both times it happens in the film, what happens is he roars, something picks up, explodes, and then he carries that.
And then they
flame
kind of had it in the
attempt
animation.
to try
It was
to
so
make
weird.
Godzilla realistic.
Yeah.
In the animation he does flat up have.
I don't even think they
breath.
call it atomic breath.
They don't even try to explain.
They just have him do it, and no one questions it.
Yeah, pretty much. I thought that was great about that series is the fact that it just they were like, yep, you know what, the movie sucked, but so let's make it more
what's
like
funny is
Japanese
that
movie,
basically the
or
plot
movies,
of the first 2 episodes of the animation was supposed to be the plot for the sequel. That's basically what it's supposed to be. Like he was supposed to befriend the baby Godzilla and all that.
That's kind of cool.
But what would happen is that they would go to Monster Island.
Yeah.
That baby Godzilla would have like 10 children, and then there would be a massive Godzilla brawl with a bunch of other monsters, which I'm so disappointed that didn't happen. I was just like,
yeah, I mean,
I'm
my network
still
cut out
seeing
again.
you.
Which it's just on my end, so like on OBS.
Yeah, I noticed there was kind of a big spike where
capturing.
everything kind of froze for a second, so that's probably. By the way, you're gonna look back at this and wonder why I'm putting so many random stuff in front. Random things in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Gross.
Okay. I'm back. So you didn't actually.
I know.
I missed what
have
you
to
put
look
in front
back
of
and
the
see
camera
it.
there.
This is the highest quality pencil.
No, I mean, I missed it. I switched my. Oh yeah, but yeah. So this has been fun. So I guess kind of the thing that what we'll see.
It's
is
gonna
who's
be me.
Right,
I'm
who's
right.
wrong is
I'm right.
Time will tell. Well, I guess actually I will agree with you.
Yeah,
I think
because
it'll
that's basically
depend on
that's
Infinity
basically
War, how
the
this
end all
era
be all
looks
of
back.
was this even worth watching all these movies for? Because let's be honest, a lot of people, the main reason why they watch them, because I think a lot of people think just like, oh, I could pass that one, but they're just like, I might have to watch it to understand something in Infinity War. Either that, or they have a friend who really wants to go see it, and they feel obligated. Because honestly, I feel obligated with half the movies now. Like Civil War was the last one I didn't feel obligated for.
Yeah. Which.
Yeah. Honestly, I felt obligated for that one because I needed to see, one, I needed to see if they do it well, and secondly, I needed to see if it's going to be better than Tobey Maguire, which kind of was too much joking. Mm-hmm. Way too much joking. But
well, that's kind of up to opinion.
In my opinion, it's not as good.
Is it better than Tobey Maguire? Or
mostly
not?
Because I think it didn't take itself seriously enough. Like, half the movie is joke, serious, joke. It kind of, like, messes with the actual plot when they can't seem to take anything seriously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which is kind of where, and regarding this kind of Marvel formula,
if DC can make their own formula,
can pick up their game, especially after
because it feels like they're trying to
too.
like it feels like they're trying to copy Marvel for the most part. Like even like it feels like they're really rushing to copy Marvel and get to where they are. Where I think, again, I'll keep on saying it, they should have waited. They should have had another Batman film before they did Batman versus Superman. Because here's the thing, you can do a different movie with Superman and Batman. Like this Man of Steel could have followed up like immediately with a new Batman movie. Would have been actually a really nice contrast between them. Then had Wonder Woman and then BVS and then actually have a reason for Wonder Woman to be there. Shut up, Houdini. Since I know some people are dying to know. Wow. That was amazing, Houdini. Thank you.
I love it.
That's the monster.
All right. Yeah. So basically, right now, DC's formula
because
has
one
been
minute
they're
they're
crap out
really
of the
serious,
audience.
the other they're joking and making really kind of either inappropriate or just not funny jokes, with the occasional actually funny joke, and it gets so confusing. And then they had Suicide Squad, which I have no idea what I'm supposed to think about that movie, other than that I kind of liked it.
Yeah.
I understand that fully because honestly,
really hated it. You know,
if I hadn't been so invested in if I hadn't like known Deadshot and Harley Quinn beforehand, I probably kind of would have hated the movie because they explain nothing.
Yeah, and my thing is too in regards to confusion. I also refer to confusion for the general audiences. Is what is DC's plan?
Yeah.
Marvel's always had a plan. Say what you will about their formula, but at least they've had a plan.
Yeah, that's why I say that Marvel is better than DC at the moment, at least in terms of their cinematic universes.
Yeah. Yeah, because whereas with DC, they're kind of like all over the map. We don't know what their actual plan is because it seems like every day a new movie
or every day there or either that or
being,
every day there's
dropped.
a director that drops out or something like that. Didn't Flash lose their director like 2 times?
Yeah, or a script change or yes, it did. Granted, the first one was understandable because
I wish they would start doing more rookies.
So that was understandable. I liked who they got.
Because in my opinion, if you're gonna have these long-running series, bring in some new talent. I want to see what all these random people are gonna come up with.
Yeah, I just think it's kind of a which I just think, though, from a studio standpoint, that's a bit of a risk because there is so much they're banking on with these films. These films could make or break. I mean, the fact that Batman v Superman didn't break $1 billion.
That's because they're so utterly stuck in putting like an obscene amount of money into a project, and then expecting to get even more obscene kickbacks, instead of just having a reasonable budget and reasonable expectations. That's one thing I have about both the movie industry and the game industry right now.
Yeah,
it's like, let's just pump money into it. That'll work. Admittedly, it works for Marvel, but Marvel has a good formula. As much as I'm kind of getting sick of it.
Yeah, and they do have compelling characters. Say what you will about the movies themselves, but people do like Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark. People really like Chris Evans' Captain America. People are really invested in Chris Hemsworth's Thor.
With
people
Superman
really like
and Batman.
Tom Holland's Spider-Man. So
honestly, they just feel like specters almost, where you don't really get to know them. You get to know why they're angry, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Really. And then even with Wonder Woman, you get to know a lot about her, but it feels so rushed at points that it kind of makes it hard to really connect with her at points. And then Suicide Squad is Suicide Squad. And Lex Luthor is Lex Luthor.
Where...
Funnily enough, their biggest problems are their villains, except for Zod,
and then
who
you
was
have,
awesome. Zod is amazing. He's the reason I rewatched that movie.
Thank you. We can agree on that. Zod
What's funny
awesome.
is that my most hated Superman movie is the one I rewatched the most because the villain is really good. And what's funny is that Man of Steel isn't even like really, really bad. It's just kind of mediocre.
Mm-hmm. I think both Batman v Superman and Man of Steel get too much crap.
I don't get the absolute sheer hatred
because
of them.
when you think about
it, even though I don't like them, I'll say that outright. I can watch them and not feel completely and utterly bored. I can't say that with a lot of other movies from like the 80s and 90s, unless they happen to be Arnold Schwarzenegger or Stallone.
And then you have the fact that it like or dislike Batman v Superman, it tried.
That's one thing I liked. I just felt like they should have had another movie before.
It didn't. Yeah.
You don't start comic book, and then the second issue is a team up with another character. You don't start Green Lantern, then team him up with Aquaman, the second issue. Although I think they might have actually done that in the Rebirth.
So
I'm still getting you
I need to read Rebirth.
Green Arrow volumes.
I've only read
Christmas,
bits and pieces of Green Arrow.
Probably before Christmas, actually, but whatever.
That would be amazing. Oh. And I love you. So yeah, I guess we can both agree.
But I will be
right. We will see how because I think what can really depend. I think what really will make this era too is
that's another
DC
reason why I'm not really onto calling it the Golden Age, because the other half of the comic book scene is kind of floundering. Not doing terribly, but floundering. Also having really unrealistic expectations, but we'll get to that some other time.
Yeah, and
I'll have to write out a script for that rant.
Yeah. Yeah, and so. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah.
We will.
But
we
I will
can
be right.
agree that we will see on how this goes.
I'm always right, even when I'm wrong.
Yeah, you'll probably be right.
Let's be honest here. That is the only truth.
Okay.
Other than that, Doritos are really good, but really bad too. Who has eaten Doritos without getting really annoyed at how much of the cheese comes off on your fingers? Really, who's done that? I mean, I love it too, but at the same time, everyone else around you looks at you like you're a savage.
Because then I can,
it's like you eat with your hat, you lick them off. There's a napkin right there, sir. And it's like, what napkin? What utensil? Why metal pointy? It no sword.
Yeah.
Wait, why this tiny sword? Why it dull? I can play a pretty good caveman. Anyway.
But yeah, so that
chubby caveman. But.
Yeah. So that rounds out my ends of discussion. Do you have anything else that you wanted to say before we close this out?
Stop purring. Literally, I pick her up and she's just like, "Oh, I love you." Wave goodbye. Anyway.
She's adorable.
Yeah, I'm Lord Squirrel. Been here with Sir Cal. I almost called you King Cal for some reason.
Hello.
No, that's not. We're not changing that to your name. I forbid it. But yeah, this has been the. I would say the whatever week of the Geekcap, but it might as well be the whatever month of the Geekcap at this point. We're just gonna rename this to the Geekcap, and
Oh yeah.
if at some point we do get back to weekly, we'll rename it. But at this point, it's not really worth it. I get the feeling if we ever do get a bunch of people, it'd be like, oh, weekly Geekcap.
Well,
that's a real fun joke. Shut up, guys.
Yeah, probably.
That's all I have for today. You?
Wait.
Wipes. No.
That is all I have for today.
I'm gonna have a lot of fun with this whole recording thing. Anyway, yeah, that's everything from us. Have a good day. Like, subscribe, share if you care. You should care, but if you don't care, then I'm gonna have to say your mom's name, and suddenly we'll be friends. Martha. Anyway, I'm never gonna get sick of that joke. Anyway, bye.
No, that is a funny joke. May the force be with you.